Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of the Faith Family Film Podcast. This episode is like over a week late. I was supposed to release it last week, but if I'm being completely honest with you guys, I was overthinking last week. I was trying to think about like the best day to release a podcast based off stuff that I was reading, and I was thinking about like, oh, I got to drop these on Wednesday, and then work got I just got crazy busy with work. And then I was thinking about dropping it this past Wednesday, but again, got crazy busy with work. Sorry, I'm like fixing my shirt. And then today, I was like, you know what, forget it. I'm about to just record it and just put it out there because I want to be consistent. So, looking like my release date may be Fridays. I'm still trying to figure everything out. So, that's not anything set in stone. I may end up doing 2 episodes a week, but I'm thinking maybe more one. Or if I do 2 episodes, it'll be 2 in the same day. So, I don't know, we'll figure it out. But I do want to start this episode off just talking about film. Like, so I kind of want to do this like Film Friday thing. Maybe I should do a Faith Family Film Friday. That would be kind of dope, right? Yeah, I may do that. So this week I do want to talk about something with film, right? And what I want to talk about is like my journey as a filmmaker, where I'm at now. So in order to do that, let me backtrack probably like 11 years, right? 11 years ago, probably almost to like close to the date. Like I think it was like May 2013. I graduated from Wayne State University in Detroit, Michigan. Walked across the stage, got my degree in digital film production. Yay, right? After being in school for like 11 years. I started school at Eastern Michigan University, where I chased women for about 4 years. And then I left there and I was going to community college for a little minute because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I was bouncing, switching up majors between education and secondary education, and it was just taking classes because I didn't know what else to do. And so finally, I ended up I had always kind of had like a interest in acting and all of that. And while I was taking classes at OCC, Oakland Community College in Michigan, I ended up taking like some acting classes or whatever, and one thing led to another. As with the classes that I was taking, like I found interest in. So actually, let me tell you, like I was writing this story, and when I was writing this story, I ended up taking like this acting class because I was like, I want to learn how to write from the actor's point of view or something like that. And so I ended up like doing this acting class, and when they handed me the script, I was like, yo, this script don't look anything like what I'm writing. And I was thinking like from a format perspective. So I was like, yo, let me take the screenwriting class so that I can understand the format. And then when I took the screenwriting class, I think I did that and acting for I did acting for television first, acting for the camera or something like that. And then that's when I was like, yo, I'm going to take a screenwriting class just so I could understand the format. And then that's when I was like, you know what, I'm going to go to school for film. Which was like kind of my idea I had like early in my college career, but I didn't have the maturity or the perspective to pursue it at that time. Right, so I was looking at schools in Atlanta at that time, like that was like 2010. I was considering Atlanta, but I ended up settling on Wayne State University in Detroit because just out-of-state tuition was like crazy expensive. So, fast forward 3 years later, I ended up getting my degree in film production. And in between them, me and Vinay went from being cool to dating, right? We started dating in like 2011. So she hung with your boy like through college and all of that, which is cool. And then at the end of 2013, me and Vinay have been dating for like 2 years. Navi at the time, my oldest, was 6. And I was like, yo, I really feel this pull to come to go to Atlanta. And at the time, my best friend Kyle was already living down here. And just to show you how God works, right? I was working at a plant in Wixom, Michigan. Graduated, wasn't making any money. I was working at this plant in Wixom, Michigan. I think I was putting like the top on like detergent or something like that. I was like screwing the top on some detergent or something like that. It was crazy boring or whatever. And I wasn't making any money at all. And so like I was frustrated with like the financial situation, right? And so I called my mom, talking to my mom, I was like, yo, mom, really like I want to get down to Atlanta. I was like, I'm about to just like save up some money for like a Greyhound and just come on down there. And she was like, all right. She was like, let me call you right back. I got my friend Jackie over here right now. And she was like, you remember Jackie, right? Now, mind you, Jackie was like my brother's godmother from when we were younger. And Jackie hadn't been to Michigan. She used to live in Detroit, moved to Atlanta. She hadn't been to Michigan in 10 years. And so I hung up for my mom. And maybe like less than 5 minutes later, she called me and was like, yo, Jackie is leaving to go back to Atlanta tomorrow. And if you really want to get down to Atlanta, she said she'll take you. Right? And I'm like, mind you, I've been dating my lady for 2 years. She already has she got a child. So I'm like, I don't really, like a part of me was like, I want to go, but I don't really want to leave my lady. And so like I told Vinay, I was like, I got a way to get down to Atlanta, but I gotta leave like in the morning. And the love God fearing woman, right? She was like, you need to go. She was like, you need to go. So, I that same day I ended up taking everything that I own and I put it in a garbage bag and I think I went to my mom's house that morning and put everything in the back of Jackie's van and shot down to Atlanta and I was sleeping on my boy Kyle couch, right? And so Kyle was going through life. I don't want to go into too much detail with that because that's his story to share. But he had lost his mom and he was going through a lot of life. So I ended up like I'm sleeping on Kyle couch, and like me and Vinay, I came down. I was actually pursuing I came down because I was kind of pursuing this job with CNN that I had like 2 good interviews and I came out here and bombed the 3rd interview, right? And so like I was pissed. Like I got down here and I was just like I had my mind fixated on this this vision that, how can I put this? I want to say like a lot of times we had these God will give us a word, right? God will say, I have this for you, right? And we have a tendency to let our faith can be big. Our faith will get in a car and drive down to Atlanta and follow God, but then our knowledge oftentimes gets in the way, and knowledge, while it's a blessing, can also be stifling because sometimes you know too much. When you know too much or whatever, you got too much education that can block your, it can get in the way of your faith. Let me just say it like that. Right. So I started to, I came out here with all the faith in the world to jump into the film industry, but then I started focusing too much on I need to get this job to make this money and do this and do that and do this and do that. And so I became overly fixated on just trying to be stable to the point where I couldn't focus anymore on what God had put in my heart to do. I was just trying to make it. I was just trying to, get off the couch, really get off my boy's couch. And I wanted to marry Vinay, so without going too far into the story, I got to the point where I was frustrated and I was like, man, forget it. I'm about to just I'm about to go back to Detroit. I was like, I missed the boat on this Atlanta thing. I'm about to go back to Detroit. But me and Vinay were, completely in love. And so I went back to Detroit and me and Vinay got married. A lot of people don't know this, but we actually got married December 23rd, 2013. That was like our official wedding. We just had that's our official marriage to say. We just had the wedding in 2014. So we always celebrate in 2014. I mean, we always celebrate the 2014 date because it's August and it's warm, right? And December is 2 days before Christmas, is cold, whatever. So that's just a little side note with the story or whatever. But anyway, so after me and Vinay got married, I come back to Atlanta. I get this little job with the Word Network, and like I was like, I still wasn't making no money, right? And I just remember it was like Vinay went to work, and Nabi was at school. And I was sitting in the house with the dog. At the time, the dog's name was Tangy. Sitting at the house with the dog, and it was completely quiet. And I hadn't heard from God in a minute. And I just remember God just telling me, like, God was just like, you done with your temper tantrum? Nah. It was like, you done having this little fit? Right? Because I was having a little temper tantrum about, like, you know, being in Atlanta and, you know. And so God was just like, yo, like, you ready to go back to Atlanta? You're like, are you ready to go back to Atlanta? Because that's where I called you to be. You know, it's going to look different now because you got a family, but I'm going to still be with you, right? And so I come down, and so I remember talking to Vinay, and I was like, yo, I think God is calling me to go back to Atlanta. And, you know, and that resonated with her. And I remember we had prayed about that. And again, just to show you how God works, we prayed about that. And we were like, because we, mind you, you know, Nabi's mine, but she also has her biological father, Terrell. Really cool guy. Really, really cool guy. Got a good relationship with him. And so we prayed about it and was like, yo, God, like, if this is what you're calling me to do, if you're calling us to do it, you gotta let us know that, make it right with Terrell, because this is his daughter. We don't want to just take her down to Atlanta without there being peace or whatever. And I promise y'all, that next day, may even been the same day. It was either the same day or the next day. Terrell hit Vinay up. We didn't tell him anything about Atlanta at this point. And he was just like, hey, y'all, I just want to let you guys know, if you guys ever thought about moving to Atlanta, like, I would 110% be down for it. I've just been checking it out. I've been thinking about it. I was looking at some opportunities down there, and, you know, I just wanted to share that with you guys. He was like, I'm not, you know, making any move yet or anything like that, but I just wanted to let you guys know that, you know, if you guys ever decided that Atlanta may be something that y'all want to check out, like, I'd be 100% supportive of it. And me and Vinay just sat there, like, just kind of dumbfounded, like, yo, that was crazy. All right, so now this is like 2014. So like June 2014, actually May 2014, I ended up coming down to Atlanta, and then Vinay and Nabi came down that next month. And so again, coming down with all the faith in the world, like, oh, I'm about to be a filmmaker, I was gonna make it, and all hell broke loose, right? Like, I'd say that the first year wasn't bad. The first year we were just kind of getting established or whatever. But man, like, everything went off the rails, particularly financially, right? Like, that became like my focus because we came back up to Detroit to do the wedding back in 2000. We did the wedding August 2014, and then September 2014, Vinay was pregnant with Nadia, right? And so when she got pregnant with Nadia, like, my mind just straight went into like, yo, like, now I got a wife and I got my wife, I got my daughter, and I got another baby on the way. And so I just became overly focused on, like, I gotta provide. And my wife at the time was trying to encourage me just to keep my faith and pursue this film thing. And I was just like, no, I gotta make some money. And man, like, I allowed that mindset to stifle me for a very long time. I'm talking about like years. I allowed that mindset to stifle me. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to provide for your family. Don't get me wrong. Like as men, we should provide for our family. That's our responsibility. That's my personal belief. That as a man, it's your responsibility to provide and protect your family. Like that's my personal belief. That's how I was raised. So nothing wrong with that. But trying to do things outside of the will of God or outside of that direction from God can derail you. And so like things got really rough financially. I won't go into all the details of that yet. That'll be another story for another day. But things got really rough, really bad financially. We wasn't like sleeping on the street or anything like that, but it got bad. And so like I ended up kind of like getting this. I was basically like I had this production company that I started, and it was a combination of like working part-time jobs and picking up gigs to try to make money, right? And in fact, like back in 2016, Kyle ended up buying a bunch of equipment. He had this idea for this film that he wanted to do. He ended up buying a bunch of equipment for me. And I mean, thank God for him with that. You know, I won't go into all the details with that film. That'll be another story for another day. I'll probably bring Kyle on whenever you're ready to share that story. But we still gonna make that film with Matt. We still gonna do that. But long story short, I ended up that equipment that he purchased. He ended up like just blessing me with that and just being like, man, like do your thing to take care of your family. And so I ended up using that to like start. It kind of fell into corporate video. Right. Actually, I originally started with wedding videos, and so I remember like I was volunteering at the church that I was going to at the time. And there was a young lady, I was making like videos for the church, and there was a young lady who was working at the reception desk. And she was like, hey, do you guys happen to do wedding videos? And I started to say no. And Kyle, mind you, who's knows nothing about film and video, was like, yeah, we do wedding videos. And so I just kind of followed along. I was like, yeah, we do them. And she was like, I got this wedding coming up or whatever. And so it was this young couple, Tiffany and Alex. And I think, man, they probably, when was that? They got married in 2016, right? But that was like my first like video like that I did under my company name and all of that. Well, not my first, but that was like the first one I did on my own under my company name, and like it kind of like just it began to take a life of its own and shape and grow from there. But it still wasn't like consistent money, right? It still wasn't like consistent money. So I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. But it still wasn't consistent money. But I was doing like weddings and corporate, like anything I could do to just kind of like try to make some extra cash. I was just doing it on top of like working like a part-time job here and there. And so I ended up getting this one job with this medical company that was probably a bit more consistent than other jobs that I had. So that was like, it was cool. And that probably took me into like so I started in like 2016. And the name of my company is called Theophilus Media Productions. And this is weird, like it's actually a family name, even though it's a Greek name. It's actually a family name on my mom's side. And when I was coming up with the name for my company, I was like, man, I want to come up with something that gives reverence to God. And so I looked at the name Theophilus, and the name Theophilus actually means friend of God. So I called it Theophilus Media Productions because the idea was I wanted to produce content that can give honor and reverence to God. And like, I wanted the name of the company to speak to my relationship with God and speak to, something to God without being like so on the nose, like Bread of Life Productions or something like that. Like, nothing wrong with that, but I just didn't want to be like that on the nose with it. So 2016, I started Theophilus Media Productions, and that wedding was like my first video that I did under TMP, is what I call it for short. And I'm gonna stop the video here because it's almost at the 20-minute mark. So that'll be like the end of part 1, and then I'll come back and I'll finish up part 2, maybe 3. We'll see how long it goes. All right, peace.